Hello and welcome to another episode of the Agile Recruiter podcast. It's a platform where I share my insights as a recruiter while also learning from other recruiters, their achievements, and the challenges that they face within the industry. In today's episode of the podcast, I wanted to talk about something that affects job seekers everywhere: fake job postings. It is something that has grown a lot in the recent years and it leaves job seekers frustrated and confused. So let's take a deep dive into this. I'll be speaking about fake job postings in three different perspectives: scams, internal recruitment, and agency recruitment. I'm also wearing a hoodie because it's absolutely freezing today. I've got my notes in front of me, so let's get into it. From the first perspective of scams, the main purpose is to obtain personal information or to steal identities or to steal money. Now, what you can do in this scenario is look out for red flags. The first one and the most basic one being a lack of information about the organization itself. The description may be vague or too generic, and the company name may be missing or you can't find it anywhere else on social media, LinkedIn, or if you do, no amount of followers or whatnot. Like little to no activity, or if there's been an activity, it's like 3-4 years ago. So that's one of the biggest red flags. The other thing is if it's too good to be true. And what I mean by that is if the required experience is little to next to nothing, and the base salary or the salary being offered is really good. So you're getting a lot of money for absolutely no amount of work, and the details of the responsibilities that are listed are again generic, vague, not really giving you a good idea of what you'll be doing. Um, Also, it's ticking a lot of the boxes. So, and it could be like remote work, immediate start, whatnot. So if it's like too good to be true, most likely it's a scam. Another thing that you can look out for if where is the job posted itself. And what I mean by that is if it's posted on a reputable job site, reliable job site, you can rest assured it's legit. But if it's one of those free job posting websites, or if you just saw a post somewhere, better do your research. And what you could do or to protect yourself is do extensive research into the organization itself. Look for reviews, look for their social media activity, look for their social media pages. There's always reviews somewhere. So do as much research as you possibly can. Never let your guard down. The second perspective that I want to discuss is internal recruitment. Now, shouldn't say this, but it's actually not uncommon for organizations to post ads or post jobs that are not currently available. And there's a lot of reasons why this happens. It could be because, in terms of legit reasons, budget constraints, delay in recruitment, delay in hiring needs, change in hiring needs, restructuring, and whatnot. A lot of the times, the strategy behind this is the organizations want to build a talent pipeline. So when there is actually a role that comes up, they already have a candidate pool that they can access. They can reach out to the preferred candidates and start the process immediately. The second reason is that they just want to see how the market is going to respond, how many applicants are going to come through, what is going to be the caliber of those applications, what kind of responses or salary requirements would those candidates have. So it's more of like getting market insights and you're just building up that information or gathering that data. Now, from an organizational point of view, it might seem like a big win, but on the flip side, from a candidate point of view, this is an extremely frustrating process. Imagine putting in that time and effort into filling an application, going through an interview process, going through screenings and whatnot, having multiple conversations, just so you know that there was never a role to begin with. It is a very unethical practice. I feel like organizations would be much better off if they are transparent from the first step and if they just say, this is an expressions of interest. We don't have a role at the moment. We forecast that there will be a role in the next 2 to 3 months. Let's have a conversation. And they could even work on their EVP, like, this is why you would want to work with us. This is what we are offering to our employees. This is why we are a preferred employer of choice. Like, you could really build it up instead of taking that route where it comes down to deception, really. And again, I would say, how do you protect yourself from this? Do your research. There's always reviews, and I've seen so many of these where people put down that I went through 2 rounds of interviews. There was never a role to begin with. They said at the end that the role had been filled internally or whatnot, and they were not transparent that this role was even posted internally. So always look for these red flags and go with your gut instinct. The final thing that I would say, or perspective I would share, is agency recruitment. Now, not all agencies are bad. I came from agency world myself. There's only a few handful of agencies that actually build up this really bad reputation for agency world. So there are recruitment agencies that engage in the practice of posting fake jobs to generate leads for new clients, as well as for candidates. And what they do is that when they post these job listings and they get applications coming through, they can either send those applications to real end clients saying, hey, I saw a job posting, I've really got this amazing candidate, what do you think about that? And that candidate would have never said yes for their application to being sent to their organization, or they might not even know that it's being sent or being considered for that role. That application is basically just a foot through in the door that the agency is using it for. Another thing is, once an agency starts getting these contacts, they start generating leads. Like if you've got someone who's senior within an organization, let's say someone who's a decision maker, you could build that relationship with them. You could say, and you could, I would say, take them along the journey where you're like, oh, I've got these really good opportunities. Let's have a catch up. You caught up. And in the end, you could say, unfortunately, they've just had budget constraints or something. But I see that you're recruiting. So let's talk about your team and how we can help you. So it's just flipping the script onto them. It does, again, feel frustrating and annoying. And I can't stress enough, not all agencies do this. There can be legit reasons where you just have a great relationship with an agency, where you've worked with them, where you would really highly recommend someone. But I feel like if you know someone who's just being really pushy, you could tell right off the bat that someone just wants to generate a lead or get a new client, and not really work on that relationship piece. I've seen that a lot, especially as recruitment has slowed down. There was a time when agencies were like really in demand and didn't actually have time to keep up with the amount of work that was coming through. And now that the amount of work has died down, I see a lot of pushy business development managers coming through. So again, just be really transparent. If you're speaking to an agency recruiter, ask those straightforward questions. Who are you representing me to? What is the company like? Who do you have in the pipeline? How do I match what, like, how am I a good fit? Because I'll share an example. I way back went to an interview from an agency, a very reputable agency, who on the phone made it seem like they've got an organization, like they want to represent me, they've got a role. But when I actually got to the interview, I could tell that it was just a general screening. Like it was just a tick in the box that I've spoken to a candidate. And that for me was frustrating, as I had taken time out from my day, I had made the trip, I had met everyone in person. So I wasted a lot of time and energy for that interview, and I had my hopes up at that moment. So again, do your research. That's all I had to share in this episode of the podcast. Hope you liked it. It'd be great if you could show your support by following me on Spotify and on YouTube. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you in the next one.